Dear professors, dear colleagues, hello from Albania. Myself, Arjana KADIU, and Dr. Albana DEMI and Mimoza AGOLLI greet you from Albania, and we hope everyone there in Plovdiv is okay. We want to thank you for letting us participate in your Congress, and we present today a paper related to public and private social system in the country of Albania, in our country. The main objectives of our paper are to bring a general view of the labor market during the decade 2009 to 2019, employment, unemployment rules, and the economic development in Albania, considering the state budget as a descriptive act that defines all revenue, expenditure, and government investment lines in a year, as well as a reserve fund. A very large part of expenditures in Albania's state budget goes for operating expenses like employee salaries or social security, healthcare, among other expenses which cover public investment spending like infrastructure improvements or investments in public facilities, etc. We would like to present you with our analysis in ways of improving the current social insurance system through the operation of private pension funds, and we would also aim to identify through our research the economic and social benefits from the existing social insurance system. Our study methodology will be based on surveys and empirical comparisons during this 10-year period, 2009-2019, and an analysis of the weak and strong points of the Albanian system compared to worldwide trends, as well as the necessity and importance of private pension funds will be part of our study. Recommendations that will lead to improvement of the existing system and social revenue management will be presented at the end of the research. The focus of this research study is related to social insurance schemes in Albania and to understand better both public and private. A deep literature review was done in combination with a statistical analysis to the gathered open data. Basically, the research is structured in a certain way that brings many conclusions and suggestions for improvement. Our country is a developing country, so there is a lot of room for improvement, and this would contribute into analyzing the schemes if they provide a good choice for Albanian citizens. The data collected in the research study proved to be very beneficial and unveiled many interesting results. The study is focused mostly on people that are currently living in Albania and working in Albania. But what are the trends all around the world? Pension is an issue which has an expanded interest among people. The trends are changing around the world, and so are changing in Albania, as Albania embraces the latest tendencies. Actually, we should face some major problems together, as so all countries around the world, such as pandemic, use of new technologies, globalization, planning of mankind movement, etc. In today's circumstances, where life expectancy is increasing day after day and birth rates decreasing, retires are increasing faster than labor force. Pension reform must be in line with economic, political, and social characteristics of any nation, too. Pension scheme is structured to cover almost all the predicted risks for citizens. The system as a whole has a special importance since it regulates and tries to minimize the difficulties for the future. But there are many questions raised to identify benefits, challenges, and doubts. The systems worldwide also, as we said, differ from one another, always aiming to get better. But what is the situation in our country, in Albania? While the pay-as-you-go system is failing day by day, the reform seems very urgent and indispensable. Pensions have been one of the sharpest issues faced by all Albanian governments. They have been a source of criticism by international organizations and have cost to the state budget more than 1% of GDP per year, thus preventing the realization of public investments necessary for infrastructure development and the Albanian economy. So this is kind of problematic. Another concern are the effects they have on creating distortions in the labor market, keeping high levels of informal economy, and so on. Based on the literature we have reviewed, and specifically in a publication of 2008, according to the World Bank, the pension system is made up of 4 columns. The first one is often known as the zero pillar, and it means some support for the elderly, no matter how much they have contributed. It is a publicly administered mandatory pension, typically a benefit. The second pillar is an annuity compulsory privately managed pillar. The third pillar is a voluntary one. It takes different forms, such as individuals can save for retirement, disability or death, employer-sponsored, defined benefit or defined contribution, etc. But essentially is flexible and discretionary in nature. And the fourth pillar is a non-financial that includes access to informal support, for example, family support, other formal social programs such as healthcare or housing, but also individual financial and non-financial assets such as home ownership and reverse mortgages where they are available. Here we have presented our first table, and according to the unemployed chronological data collected, the table is included the period 2009-2020, and we've analyzed not only by years and age groups, but also by gender. And what we noticed from the table is that there is a tendency during 2011-2016, there is a tendency of unemployment increase. But again, we come to lower percentages during the last years, a kind of improvement of the situation. And what we noticed, so there is not a very big difference between male and female. So the percentages are similar. So somewhere males have a higher unemployment rate, somewhere females. So another year females have another unemployment rate, but they are similar with each other. And what we notice is that, of course, the period 30 to 64 years is the period where people are more active, let's say, and the unemployment rates are lower than during the other group ages. We also have another table, our second table, and here we have the total income from contributions in Albania LEC. And we have the individuals that benefit, the female and male, in urban zones and in rural zones. We notice that from year to year, the number of individuals increases, and the higher number is, of course, as we see from the table in 2020, males and females in urban pensions, in urban zones. And this is because there's another phenomenon in Albania that many people have moved from rural zones to urban zones, and this somehow has contributed in an increasement number of individuals in urban zones. So, we also have presented our data from the tables in our graphs, the income from contributors in LEC and the number of urban and rural pensions per year. What we would like to add is, so there is a decline in rural retirees, as we said, which may be due to their relocation to urban areas. What we would like to also add is the slide that includes the private sector companies. In Albania, there were private sector companies like Raiffeisen Invest, Sigal Group, Austria Credits Invest in the beginning. So we had 3 main companies. And beginning in 2019, we also have an added company, that operates in the sector, which is the Alsik Invest. And so we have altogether 4 companies operating in the private sector. And so here are the data as we see. And what we notice is, of course, that we have an increased number of pension plans, so from year to year. We have also presented our data in the following graph. And as we see, total number of pension plans, of pension funds, number of pension funds management companies, which keeps increasing, total passive members, and so on. So we have reached our results and recommendations. The first column, despite the parametric for the first pillar that we mentioned among the 4 pillars, despite the parametric reforms that have been made in Albania, it continues to be problematic, especially because of the high transfers required by the state budget, the high contribution rates, the weak link between contributions and benefits, low ratios of substitution, and high dependency ratios. The government must continue its efforts to achieve its goals for a progressive increase in pensions with a higher percentage of rural pensions that seek to match the minimum level of urban pensions. System dependency coefficient, which is the total number of beneficiaries in relation to the total number of contributors, shows that Albania has the highest ratio in the region and one of the highest in the world. Social insurance institutions should assume their responsibilities to raise their level of contributing to contributions. Regular controls of existing businesses in relation to their contracts and employees would help to avoid contributory evasion. Designing and implementing some important parametric changes to the social insurance scheme would aim at making it as attractive to the general public as possible, sustainable and financially sound. Increasing the management capacity of the institution would have an impact on strengthening the organizational structure of the center and on the basis, with the aim of collecting contributions, minimizing contributory evasion, and carrying out timely and quality customer service. Very important. Increasing the level of income would have an impact on mitigating the problems in the compulsory schemes of insurance, providing for income individuals enough so that they take the initiative of contributing personally. It is also important to provide complete information about the existence, the way of fixing, and advantages that accompany the creation of private funds as an alternative, and a good alternative, a great alternative to a solution for a secure future. The government should create easier conditions for accepting the activation of the private institutes on the stock exchange for the purpose of development and support of private funds in Albania. These were our main results and recommendations that we have come to from our data that we have gathered. And we also have written down some ideas for our next researches, which may be the positive and negative effects of retirement age or benefits of higher contribution in social security systems, and similar topics, which are very interesting and very coherent for Albania and for many countries around the world. This was our presentation with our references. We would like to thank you again for your attention, and we would like to thank you for letting us be part of your Congress. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.